All right, any questions on anything? Yes?
Question. Matthew 8:28. A couple things, like when Jesus let the demons have their way and be casting of the pigs.
Oh, sure.
One, why did he let them have their way? And two, when Jesus casts out demons, are they always alive after that? They're just somewhere else? Or how does that work?
Okay, so let's take a look at this. Matthew 8:28. So when he was come to the other side, so he was on the Sea of Galilee, him and his disciples, there's a storm. And if you have a map of Israel, on the west side was mostly Jewish. On the east side of the Sea of Galilee was called the Decapolis, and it was very much Gentile. Okay, you find that out real quick because there's a herd of pigs. Okay, you wouldn't have that with the Jews because they're unclean, right? Okay, so when he was come to the other side in the country of the Gergeshenes, there met him two possessed with devils, coming out of the tombs, exceeding fierce, so that no man might pass by that way. And behold, they cried out, saying, What have we to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of God? Art thou come here to torment us before the time? And there was a good way off. From them a herd of many swine feeding. Well, let me just pause right there because there's a lot in that. So these devils, what we call demons, they know a couple things. They know that they're going to face torment. They know that there's a time for that, and they know this is before it. So I find those things pretty interesting.
So when it says before the time, that means before the end when they're going to be... Okay.
Right. So then the devils besought him, saying, If thou wilt cast us out, let us or suffer us to go away into the herd of swine. And he said to them, Go. Now, there's some things there that I don't have an answer for. Why would they say, if you're going to cast us out, let us go into swine? I don't know. But I think it actually is a huge statement for the people around that area. So these Gentiles, they're basically neighbors with the Jews. I mean, there's the Sea of Galilee is separating them, but around it, there's going to be those differences. They know that they're not going to have any market. They're not going to sell any pigs on the other side of the lake, right? The Jews, it's an unclean animal. And to the Gentiles, it's just a pig, right? We'll eat it up. So I'm sure that there was like, what's the deal? What's your problem? Why can't you eat pork? Kind of a thing, you know? Why do you say it's unclean? And it's not that the Jews were, it's God had stated in the law that it was unclean. And so when they go into this herd, verse 32 then, when they were come out, they went into the herd of swine, and behold, the whole herd of swine ran violently down a steep place into the sea and perished in the water. So that had to be like a shocker to the people who owned the pigs. And they that kept them fled and went their way into the city. So, you know, sheep, they have shepherds. I don't know what you'd call someone who watches pigs.
Hoggers.
A swiner?
Hoggers, yeah, swiners.
Swineherd.
Swineherd?
Shepherd.
So, But they see this, and they go into the city, and they told everything that was befallen to the possessed of the devils. And behold, the whole city came out to meet Jesus. And when they saw him, they besought him that he would depart out of their coast. So you think about these two guys in the tombs that everyone knows don't go around that area. You know, those guys will beat you up or whatever. They couldn't hold them. They couldn't do anything. And when Jesus takes care of that problem, they go. The devils go into the pigs. The pigs go into the water and perish. And the people don't like it. They come back and say, "No, we want you to get out of here. We don't." So what are they saying? We'd rather have the unclean animals that make us wealthy than have the freedom of being freed from the demons. I mean, it's a pretty sad state, right? It shows that these unclean are perishing in the depths. So as far as the statement is, the unclean, which the Gentiles, the Jews would see them as unclean, you're going to perish. And instead of embracing Jesus, they want him to leave. So
When the pigs died, did all the demons in them die too, or do they?
no,
No, they don't.
not that I know of.
Okay.
No, they're kind of, from what I understand, they would be just like, in a sense, when we die, we don't cease to exist. Just like if they're possessing someone and move, they don't cease to exist.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the demons that are always there, they're just,
Right. There's a certain number. I don't know what that is. 1/3 of them. So all the angels, out of all of them, 1/3 followed after Satan. So I don't know what the total number is. So whatever a third is of an unknown number.
So what was their point of going into the herd and then?
I don't understand why they would even ask to do that. I don't know.
Might have been there was no other place for them to go.
But
But then
Is that
he
it?
did Before, like when he cast him out of Mary, they didn't have to
Yeah.
cast him, right?
I mean, but do they? I don't know. I don't have anything in Scripture that I know of that I can learn why they would want to go into a pig.
then I was thinking when Jesus cast out these demons, wouldn't he know that they were gonna go possess somebody else sometime?
Well, it's not like they can just possess whoever they want to.
Okay.
Okay, it doesn't work that way.
So they're giving them an open door to, if they go into somebody, it's that person's fault.
I think that there would be some responsibility there. Yeah. It's
Would it be the same theory of like how we plant the seed of Jesus with us if we allow the seed of something else?
yeah. There's certain things you can mess with it directly contact with the demonic realm, for sure. But there's a conscience of opening up yourself to that stuff, you know. The Bible doesn't give me a lot of information on it. I think that one of the reasons is we should be kind of ignorant of a lot of the evil, kind of curiosity kill a cat kind of a thing. So, yeah. So when they left the pigs, that's their next stop was to go into all the cats.
We picking on cats?
No one would catch it that way.
Now you know why.
Is it like today, there's agnostics, atheists, religious people of all sorts. Was everybody that wasn't Jewish, was there such a thing as they didn't believe in anything? Or they had a pagan religion?
There may have been some, but most people had some type of pagan religion. I don't know if there was much of an atheistic movement, but there might have been some people that just said, this is all there is. I don't know. We have gotten way less sophisticated than what things used to be. So, you know, the people that we look back and go, how stupid were they? Have an idol, you know, some little thing that they made. And it's not like they actually thought that literal thing that they made was a god. It represented their god. If someone stole it, they would just make another one, you know. So they had all these different types of idols, but they were representations of things. And we're not that sophisticated to say, okay, this is the embodiment of what we worship. We just don't have that and can worship the same things. I'm talking about, you know, the world in general, without even having that, you know. So they had different gods of power, different gods of what we would call lust, right? And they're saying, this is what life is all about. This is my pursuit. This is what I go after and worship. And we say, oh, that's stupid, but yet people do it without that representation, you know, whether it's materialism or power, you know, things like that. So
The biggest thing that baffles me is what's happening on the political scene with, it just drives me crazy. You see a yellow bus sitting out there. Take pictures of everybody, it's a yellow bus. And then you get the people coming and know it's green. And they actually believe it.
yeah. Well,
You can't do anything. You go touch the bus and compare it to yellow paint. They won't. That to me is like when God said he would turn them over to their own.
yeah.
And I wonder if that's already happened.
Well, I think it has with a lot of, because it's a individually we can do that. We can do that nationally, you know. So I think that that definitely happens. Part of the problem is, I think, with a lot of this, and this is just how we are as humans. We want to be right. We make our declaration before having all the information that we need to declare something, and then we're vested in that declaration. So anything else that goes against it, we don't want to listen to or hear. You know, it's and you get that on the right and the left. The left, it just seems to be way more obvious. You know, but.
I have a question, just going back now and starting from the beginning again. Just got finished with Jacob, and when Jacob took Leah and Rachel and left, Rachel had taken Laban's idols.
Yep.
Why did he have idols? I mean, was he a pagan? I thought that he was.
Well, so when Abraham, you know, so if you back up, because they're all the same group, right? His family were idol worshipers. His relatives were all idol worshipers. Now, there's some people that go into what was the significance of those idols, and some have suggested, and there's like historical stuff to back it up. The Bible just doesn't say, so it's one of those, it could have been one of these things. But they used to have, the idols were also like a deed to certain areas of land. And what Laban is concerned with is they just stole his deeds. And because remember, the sisters were like, there's nothing for us here. Our inheritance is gone. It's been taken from us. And some people believe that that's what she was doing. I don't know.
Yeah, I wondered, you know, I just kind of,
Yeah. And yeah, she hides it, and yeah,
and then they buried him under.
right, an oak by Shechem. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of things that happen at that little place, that Shechem. It's,
Good place to stay away from.
oh, I don't know. Depends. Depends.
Depends on who you are, I guess.
Yeah, I'd like to go out there with the metal detector, see what you can find.
I got a question just popped in my head.
Yeah.
You know all about the Bible, that is. If you had a magic time machine in there, it's like 2 or 3 events you could go and
Yeah.
be around what's happening, what would it be?
The creation and the flood. If I had one more, then I'd skip all the way to the 70th week of Daniel, the second coming, Christ. Yeah, that would be see what it was like before sin was in the world. You know? Adam walking with God. You know?
Can you imagine if you could go before sin was in the world and then have to come back now? How you would feel?
Well,
I would be so depressed you couldn't stand it.
no, because we have an example, right? The Apostle Paul got cut up to the 3rd heaven. And he said, I saw things that I can't even tell you about. And when he got back, his motivation was spread the gospel. And he makes it a point, like in Philippians, he says, to be with the Lord is far better than here. But nevertheless, it's needful for me to be here for your sakes. So he knew the only reason he was on this earth was to reach other people. You know? And so he had some great motivation.
Well, you consider what he was doing before he got.
Yeah,
That would be motivation.
yeah.
To make up for what I was doing.
Well, you can't make up for it, though.
No, but your human mind would try and tell you that you would like to because
Yeah.
you knew what you had done wrong.
Right.
I got a hypothetical. Your opinion on it. When the 7th seal wasn't supposed to be opened, a secret 7th seal, do you have any guess of what that would be? So don't tell anybody, don't record it.
Oh, are you talking about the thunders?
Yeah.
Okay. No.
I mean, I can't think of what could be worse than had already happened, but you said don't tell anybody.
Yeah. So there's the seven trumpets, the seven seals, 7 trumpets, and 7 bowls or whatever. Some will say like vials, bowls, whatever. Those are listed, but then there's these thunders that John's ready to write about him, and he says, no, you don't write those. Is that what you're talking about?
Will they say, okay, this is what I told you not to write about?
He just says, I was going to write about what they were, and he was told not to. And so he doesn't.
It's like the wet paint thing, you said to put it
Yeah, yeah. It just shows us there's something there, and there's who knows what else is there that we just don't know about. I don't try to speculate on it because I'd get it wrong. You know,
Question on the new heaven and the new earth.
yeah.
Is that just during the 1,000 years and then it just becomes heaven forever? Or is there always an earth and a heaven?
So there's this earth, then and there's what we call that 70th week of Daniel, time of Jacob's trouble, the return of Christ, 1,000-year reign, great white throne judgment. Then There's a new heaven and new earth, and the old burns up and is
So
gone.
that's after the 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Okay, why a new heaven and earth if we spend eternity in heaven, or are we in both places, or?
Oh, well, I don't think there's anything about spending eternity in heaven.
Okay,
That is something that is taught a lot, and it's a very, it's kind of a misconception. You die, you'll go to heaven forever. Well, no, you're going to be back here for 1,000 years. Then you're going to be new heaven and new earth. You're going to be there. Now, I really think, Jody, like the original creation, there wasn't a veil that I think people could see heaven. You know, just like today, I think heaven is right up there. We can't see it. It's a different dimension. I don't think it's far, far, far away.
okay.
So the new heaven and new earth, I'm going to just assume, I don't know for sure, but I assume that whoever's on earth can look up and still see heaven. It's not like it's, well, I'm going to leave the earth, I won't see it anymore, and because I'm going to go to heaven. I think it's new heaven, new earth. It's going to be no different than looking up and seeing the clouds.
Will you have access to that?
I think so.
I didn't know if that was where the aristocrats lived,
No.
and you're just down here.
Yeah.
Because Jesus is supposed to be with us and light up,
Yeah. No more sun.
right? So
Yeah.
I guess I don't understand what the heaven, who's up in heaven,
Yeah.
if we're all still on the new earth. Or-
To me, it's not going to be like a big separation of places.
Okay, so it's where we could go to both.
Right.
Okay.
Be like going to Warrens and Toma,
Okay.
you know. I can be wrong, but that's what it seems like to me would make sense. The new earth, how big will it be? What will it be like? I think it'll be mind-blowing. If you look at the New Jerusalem, it's gigantic. So I'm assuming the new earth is going to be gigantic too, way bigger than this one to accommodate that. There's a lot of questions that I just can't find scripture that answers it, so it just kind of leaves a question mark. For example, people that survive that 7-year period, I don't have a timeline, no sense in getting up. People who survive that time, right? They have a physical body. They enter into the kingdom. They don't die. They're going to have kids. Okay? New heaven, new earth. Will they still have that physical body? Will they still be having kids? I don't know. Huh? What's that? Yeah.
What do you think about the whole, like the other planets? Is it just Earth that's going to be recreated, or?
Well, I when it says heavens, you know, and earth,
Yeah.
so you have, the Bible speaks of 3 heavens. We have our atmosphere, our air. We have space, and then we have God's dwelling. I mean, that's, I think, the easiest way to describe them. When it says heavens, at least 2 of them, right? So the air, our atmosphere, gone. The space that we know, outer space, going to be gone. God's dwelling, I don't know why he would have to recreate that. I don't know. That one is just a question mark for me.
Maybe he just has to like spring clean because of how many people have been hanging out there for the end of
I don't know.
the story.
I don't know.
Y'all heard me.
I've always wondered what he did before he created creation. He had to be bored out of his mind. We were talking to about 3 people and
What it's hard for us to understand is, what would God talk about within the Trinity? When you have all knowledge, what would you discuss?
I would think maybe we should create this society that we can manage to give us something to do.
Well, I think we'll have plenty to do. I don't know what it all will be, but we will have. Remember when God.
No, I mean then when it was just three.
Oh,
Why, a reason man was created to give them something to manage.
I think I think one of the reasons man was created is God is love, and love needs an object, and I think that's one of the reasons. It was to be able to love and to demonstrate His love and show it. I'm sure that there's all kinds of other reasons. You know, a lot of times there's not just one single reason for anything.
So like theoretically, he's trillions of years old.
No, because He existed before there was time.
There's a word for it then.
Yeah, there's no word.
Infinity.
Eternal. We have terms, you know, when you get into the theological realm, there's terms like eternity past. Because like, in essence, we could say we are eternal because we're going to never end. But we had a beginning where God didn't have a beginning. You know, the angels, they had a beginning. They won't be annihilated or incinerated or any of that. But they had a beginning where God didn't.
Are they a little bit like when he created the book of Judges? So God could manage the people thing. I'm going to create angels to help me manage those people.
Well, it talks about the angels being ministering spirits. Okay? I think there's lots, again, I don't think there's just one reason. I think that there's lots. One, they witnessed the creation. Okay? They shouted for joy. They were all good at the time. They shouted for joy at the laying of the foundation of the earth. So they were a witness to that. God uses them as messengers. It's kind of what the word angel means, is a messenger. So he uses them for different things, different jobs, different places of service.
Do you think they nudge circumstances along in mankind to do whatever God wants to
Yeah,
put the people in?
yeah. Well, you know, not in a like overriding the will of man, not in that area. But I think that there's definitely things that we don't see that are going on, you know, as far as like, could be protection, could be all kinds of things.
So I wonder, they say when you're late for something creates something that happens so you didn't get in this accident. Is that God or could that be an angel?
Well, if it's an angel, it's sent by God to do it. So it's, you know, one and the same. And I think that there's things like that can happen. I don't want to not negate the fact that still bad things can happen, you know? So in other words, it's like, well, if God causes something and keeps me back from getting into this accident, well then if I got into an accident, then it's God's fault because he didn't keep me back from it. You know, you don't want to go into that ditch. So.
So in theory, like how demons are just randomly, we're gonna go with the word roaming, but that's not the accurate word of what I'm looking for, because they're not like roaming the earth.
In a way, it's not a bad
But
word.
you're following me so far.
Yeah.
Okay, so in theory, since that's how demons are, what if the angels are out here doing the same thing, not possessing people,
Yeah.
but among us, watching us? You know, sometimes people
Right.
get put out like tripping you to keep you humble and
In theory, that could be.
So, this is one of those things where the Bible gives you a little bit of information about, but not enough for me to say, oh, this is how they operate.
Right.
Okay? So, it's in Matthew that Jesus references when he's talking about little ones, that their angels are watching out. It's where we get the concept of a guardian angel. Okay?
He just said that.
Yeah. So it's actually a biblical thing. I thought it was in chapter 19, but I could be wrong. I know it's in Matthew, but
Jesus blesses the little children, 1913.
yeah, I don't see it there.
I think that's quite the
No,
version.
that's not, no, that's not.
It might not be the right chapter. It was a warning about the little kid, little children, and so on. What's that?
Matthew 19:13. The little children of Jesus. I mean, that's the title.
Yeah, it's talking about there, but there's actual where it spells it out pretty clearly about what we would call guardian angels.
Does it say guardian?
No. If you're doing a search, I would put their. Was it their angels? It'd be plural.
I have a question on it.
Yeah.
Like superstitions, bad luck.
Sure.
That type of thing that we're all kind of brought up with, like they don't put 13th floor in hotels. And,
Uh-huh.
Walking under a ladder, broken mirrors, all those things, are those, if you
1810.
talk about those things, is that bringing evil into the thing?
What do you mean by bringing evil?
If you're talking about, oh, that's bad luck, or you're gonna have 7 years of bad luck with a broken mirror, all that stuff, is there any wrong thing we're talking about that kind of stuff?
Well, talk.
Superstitions?
I think it just depends. It's so. Let me give you an example. So it's all through our culture. Those sometimes we call them like wives' tales, So thinking about it is like, oh, I broke a mirror. That means this, but you don't really believe it means that. It comes to mind because you've heard it so many times. That's no big deal. If you let that affect you, if you actually put any weight on it, well, that's wrong.
Okay, so if
You
you
know.
actually believe it, that's.
Well, yeah. Just like, it may not be a good idea to walk under a ladder depending on who's on it. I mean, that's just,
What might fall?
but not that, oh, well, you walked, so now something's going to happen. You see a black cat, you see any cat, it's unlucky.
So you're the cat.
No, I like cats, especially if they're sautéed correctly.
If you're staying on the 14th floor, everybody knows it's really the 13th floor.
Yeah, no. And I if there's cat lovers out there, don't worry about it. I'm nice to cats. I've got this weird cat, we call him Nacho. Whenever I bring my bus home, he runs out there, literally to say hi to me. I open the door, he hops on, I pet him. He wants to go explore the bus. I don't let him. Kick him.
Think about turning them into nachos.
No, there's a whole story behind that. I don't want to get into it right now, but the basic concept is not your cat. It's our cat, it's not your cat.
Controlling your neighbors, right?
Right. We let our neighbors know this is not your cat. Okay. Matthew 18:10, take heed that you despise not one of these little ones, for I say unto you that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. What does that all mean? I don't know. They have angels. And that's where we get the concept of a guardian angel. You know.
What about those mean little kids, man?
Not the angel's
They
fault.
just run up and like kick people for fun of it. Like, where's their
So, how long did they keep those angels?
I don't know.
Adults don't.
I don't know. It just doesn't give me a whole lot of information, right?
Maybe you knew something I didn't know.
No.
I figure my angel is still around.
Maybe. I don't know, because, you know, do you get it? Is that for like a time frame? Or is it like, you know, for life? I don't know. Well, I can throw some weird theories out there. Just theories. So we know in the book of Revelation that there are books written, right? And the ancient Jewish culture used to have what they called the Book of the Living. You know, today we have baby showers and, you know, we celebrate a baby going to be born and so on. Well, they would write down this person came into the world, you know. As time goes on, this is what that person has done. And then there's another book called the Book of the Dead. They passed away. They get blotted out and written over here. Okay? That was in Hebrew culture. Now, it seems like anytime the Hebrew people, the Jewish people do something, there's reasons behind it. A lot of times we lose the whole reasons behind it, you know, and it just becomes more of a tradition. But what if these angels, these ministering spirits, aren't keeping track of things and writing them in the book of, there's the book of life, there's the Lamb's book of life, that's a different book. So, I don't know. It's just throwing something out there. Just don't know. I do know that everything is kept track of. So when people say, oh, they got away with it. No, they didn't. Now they can be forgiven of it, right? If you understand who Jesus is, what he's done for you, you put your trust, your faith in him, you can be forgiven. But nevertheless, it's not like we get away with it. There's always consequences to sin. Okay. Anything else?
different perspective.
Yeah.
So I watched the first hour of the thing that I can't.
FBI.
Oh, yeah.
And he recapped the whole story really, really quickly.
Genesis to Revelation.
Yeah. And he did a great job, but he brought up something that I never actually thought about that I thought would be interesting for us to cover. James is his half-brother. And in my mind, not knowing as much as probably anybody in this room, because I'm so fresh to this, but like, I assumed that James was always a believer.
Yeah.
And he brought up how hard it would have been actually for James to believe. And I guess I just kind of thought, well, how could that possibly be? Like, he was supposed to be the one to lead the way, the unflawed. Are you following what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Is there information on that somewhere, like, so to learn of?
Would it be the same as Joseph and his brothers? As soon as you raise the importance of one brother, the other ones get jealous and try to knock him down?
Yeah. What we do know is that at one point his family thought that he was mad.
James was mad?
No, Jesus.
Like crazy mad?
Yeah. Another half brother is Jude. Neither one of James or Jude believed in him till after the resurrection. And he had other brothers too, and they're not really mentioned. So we don't know if they ever did. And he had sisters, half brothers. We don't know much about them either. So, yeah, I think some of it can be like what Kelly's saying, just like the brothers didn't like Joseph and rejected him. Sometimes the closer you are, the more difficult it can be, So.
Does it say somewhere exactly what brought James or Jude?
Not that I know of.
No.
Not that I know of. If it's there, I don't know about it. If it's in the scripture.
It's just an interesting perspective to kind of grasp and
Yeah.
think about.
Yep.
It's not recorded, but Yates mentions in the video that he thinks that Jesus showed himself to James after he resurrected, and that's why James believed.
Yeah.
But it's not recorded. That's just his
Yeah.
thought. Yep.
So, 1 Corinthians 15. I'll just start at verse 1. Moreover, brethren, I declare unto you the gospel which I preached unto you, which also you have received, and wherein you stand. By which also you are saved, if you keep in memory that what I preached unto you, unless you have believed in vain. For I delivered unto you first of all that which I also received, how that Christ died for our sins according to the Scriptures, that he was buried, he rose again the third day according to the Scriptures. And he was seen of Cephas, and then of the 12. After that, he was seen of above 500 brethren at once, of whom the greater part remain unto this present, but some are fallen asleep. After that, he was seen of James, and then all of the apostles. And last, he was seen of me. So,
Thank you.
yep.
Which James?
I'm going to assume his half-brother, because the 12 are mentioned. What's that?
Paul wrote Corinthians, right?
Yes. Yep. So, because of verse 5.
Whenever they use the word brethren, does that always mean a fellow believer, or just saying a brother?
Pretty much a believer. I'm very rarely are they talking about like a biological, but I mean,
Okay.
it does use it, but the context is very clear when it's just talking about, James, the brother, Andrew, so on. But yeah, when it's talking about brethren in here, believers. All right, anything else?
Just out of curiosity, red letter Bibles, and what Jesus said is red. But when you get into Revelation, and they repeat, and God said, then it's black, because they're quoting. So is that a general rule for red letter Bible? It's only the original?
I think that red letter Bibles, that's man doing that. It doesn't mean that they're getting it right all the time. I don't know what rules they use.
It looks like that only the original time Jesus said it, they make it in red. Then when it's quoted, it's in black.
Not all the time. So in mine, I have chapter 1 of Revelation, verse 8, verse 11.
Yours is red?
Yeah, all of chapter 2.
Mine is too. In part of, and all.
Yep, all of 3. So those are the 7 letters to the 7 churches. And then
Mine goes off and on.
And then, I don't see any more red.
There is in 16, 15.
Haven't got to that yet. Did you say 16, 15?
Yes.
So mine doesn't.
No?
No?
Mine does.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is-
So yeah, each one's going to have a little bit different rules and opinion on.
Okay.
I don't have any more till 22.
Yeah,
I was just
22,
curious
7,
if there was a reason for that. Sounds like a man thing.
and then 20,
Yeah, definitely.
then 12 through 16 and 22.
Sort
Yeah.
of like the, division of the chapters and the verses. There's times when I'm reading, I'm thinking, well, this part of this chapter should be part of this chapter. Doesn't make sense why it's split.
Yeah.
That's how it's done.
And when they talk about the 7 churches,
Yeah.
that's believers, is that, those church categories cover everybody that's a believer in some way, shape, or form?
So there is there's multi-level application on those. He's talking to a specific church, like the Church of Ephesus. It's a specific church at that time. But he also says, let him who have ears hear what he says unto the churches all over. So he's talking about this one, but hey, if this applies to you, then take heed, kind of a thing. And that would go through the whole time period of the church. So there's 7. They're very distinct. Each one is different than the other.
Denomination? Or
No.
what was the definition of a church back then? A group of people met in a house, or thousands of people?
So the word literally means an assembly. Now, I think that there's a lot of misconceptions on what is a church. People will quote Matthew 18 and say, anywhere 2 or more are gathered. He doesn't say, there's my church. Okay, church hadn't even started yet. So if you try to go through all of Scripture, what do we know about churches? 1, it's assembly of believers. Okay, there is positions in it. There's leadership, right? There's going to be pastor, elders, deacons, whatever. Okay, and people can have fun with the names as far as, well, we have an elder board. Well, we have a deacon board. Okay, whatever. You have people in leadership, and hopefully they're qualified, right? But you see what I mean? It's more than just believers getting together. That's great when believers get together, but that's not necessarily the church.
I mean, all believers of that day, I guess what I'm getting at, were put into one of those categories.
Yes. And today, I believe each group of people gathered together, in an organized way with leadership and that on a consistent basis, they're going to fit one of those categories. Yeah. There's also the concept of what we call the universal church. And that is a general term meaning like the bride of Christ. Any believer from the day of Pentecost to the time of the rapture, all of those is the church, the body, right? So we use terms to try to define those. So that's called the universal church, and we call the other the local church. You know, because we're an assembly of people together, but we're different than the one down over there or out over there. But yet, when we talk about God's church, we're talking about all believers, even people that don't go to church. If they're a believer, they're part of the Church of Christ. You know, and I hate to use that because there's denominations called the Church of Christ. Yeah. So, but I hope you understand what I'm saying.
So of the 7 churches, which one do you think our church here identifies with the most?
That's it.
This one here?
The church of today.
Yeah. I hope if our church is a Laodicean church, I need to leave. I do not want to be the pastor of the Laodicean church.
I was talking about society.
Yeah. No, she was talking about this, you know, Open Door Baptist. Yeah. Well, that's a good question. And so the first one is the Church of Ephesus. They were good at standing up for truth. That was the plus that they had. Bad thing, they were neglecting their relationship with Christ. I hope that we're not doing that. I hope we stand up for the truth. The second church is Smyrna. I don't think that's the people that were dying for their faith, persecuted church. We're blessed, we don't have that. You know, not in this country, not yet. Maybe someday in the future, but not now. So I don't think that we relate directly to that one. Now, we can die to self, you know, in that sense, and live for God. That's great. The third one is what? Pergamos. That is the unholy marriage of church and state. I don't think we have that. We don't pay attention to what the government is telling us to do, and that's the nice thing about living here is we don't have the government telling us what to do for the most part. Then you have Thyatira. That is the church of continual sacrifice, right? We don't have that. We believe Christ died once for all. You don't need to sacrifice him again and again and again.
Catholic Church.
And there's others too that believe, well, no, you did this bad and you lost yourself. Now you got to go get saved again and things like that. That would be no different. After that, it's Sardis. Sardis is like you look good, but there's no life in it. There's no life at all. It's dead. You know, I don't believe that that's us. I think that we do see life. We see people getting saved. We see people growing in the faith. So to me, that's what life is. The next one is the Church of Philadelphia, brotherly love. And it has to do with reaching out. The missions church, that's the church that everyone wants to be or should want to be. The church that has outreach, church that is wanting getting the gospel out and so on. Then there's the Laodicean church. That is the one that they have everything and they don't need God. So, and I think,
Lukewarm?
yes. And I think Kelly's right. In general, in the United States, that's what we're seeing. Now, you go to places like Nigeria, and you got the persecuted church there. They're getting killed. They are not the Laodicean church, you know, in general, you know. Here in the United States, in general, I think we are in the Laodicean. And that's going to be our struggle, is to make sure we're not going down that path. So I'm hoping that we are more of the Philadelphia, the wanting to get the gospel out, getting the gospel out, discipling people, getting them grown in the faith so they can do the work of the ministry. That should be the focus. Okay,
sometimes I worry that, because you don't know what the parameters are. Everybody could be considered Laodicean. You're lukewarm. How do they interpret that, and how strict are, I mean, theoretically, if you got too many clothes in your house, you should be giving them to the poor. How literally is that? It's almost in favor of communism, socialism.
No. You will not find anything in Scripture that, in fact, you find the exact opposite. The nation of Israel, they were to have their own land. They were responsible for their own stuff. That is not communism or socialism. That's what we call capitalism. William Bradford, you know that story, right?
Is he a pilgrim?
Yeah. So they were Puritans. They're Puritans. They come over here. And if you want to listen to some good stuff, William Federer, whenever you get a chance, listen to him. Give him a minute or two and you'll be hooked. He's a historian and very interesting. Well, when they came here, that's what they tried. They tried communism. Said, we're all going to own everything. And we're all going to, when you plant your garden, it's just going to go in this big communal thing. And so when you need food, it'll be there. They almost starved. Because what's the incentive?
Well, that's what's confusing about James and things like that is basically if your brother's in need, the biggest commandment, love your brethren.
Yeah.
And the part where if they're cold and hungry,
Right.
you say, be full.
Do you know of anyone that's cold or hungry?
No.
Then don't worry about it.
I mean, you're supposed to go out and find them.
No. It's talking about, someone in our church body.
Oh, they're talking about the church?
Yeah. Talking about if your brother.
Okay, I thought they were talking about society.
No.
I heard a sermon, it was on the internet, and this pastor went to Thessalonians and said he could prove that the government was responsible for the poor, not the church. Have you ever heard anything like that?
No, I don't think either one is responsible. Romans 13 tells us what the government's responsible. Punish evil, reward those who do good. In other words, leave the people that are trying to follow what's right, you leave them alone. The people that are doing evil, take care of them. That's the government's job. There is a saying that a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people say that, well, if the church did their job and took care of the poor, then the government wouldn't need to. I don't know if you guys have heard that. It's not the church's job to take care of the poor. That is a misconception. James says if your brothers, if there's people in our congregation that are needy, first, their family, okay? If they don't have family or their family is just unable to, then we can help them out. But it's different. In fact, what are the conditions for taking care of widows?
They have to be over the age of 60.
Okay, got to be over 60. What else?
And a wife of one husband.
Yep, what else?
Did good things to others in the church.
Yep. Now, if there's qualifications to a widow before you take care of her, why would people think that, oh, anyone out in the world, just you need to be the soup kitchen?
Remember Jay doing Bible study? Certain things I remember what he said. If they ever had where they redistributed everything to make no poor people, he said, all your billionaires, and distributed it. He said, everyone would be poor took the circulating amount of wealth in the world and distributed it equally, everybody would be poor.
I have no idea why he's saying that.
Well, you'd hear of all these lottery winners that are bankrupt.
Okay, but that's different. That's after they've gotten it, they're going to go back to how they. Yeah, that's different. Just the idea of spreading the wealth.
He was saying it's wrong.
Oh, I think it's wrong. Would be wrong to do it.
That some people will always be poor no matter what they don't
Yeah.
get right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because of the decisions they make. If you don't change the decisions you make, you're going to make the same dumb ones. 1 Timothy 5 is that when it talks about widows, if you want to ever go into that with somebody. But the church was to take care of the people in the church that are part of the church. If you feel like you need to reach out to your neighbor and help them, well, go ahead. That's your individual right to do that. Do whatever you'd like. But to say, as the church, that's our responsibility, I think that's crossing the line. I think the government's job is to do reward those who do good and punish those who do evil. What does the Bible say if a man doesn't work? Shouldn't eat. It doesn't say if he can't, it says if he doesn't, won't. He won't work. Well, does that sound like we need to start opening up the soup kitchen? You know?
I guess the term love is the confusing part. You love your kids, so you feed them and clothe them, and
Well, you're raising them.
are you transferring that word to other things that it's not intended for?
Probably, if that's what they think. You see it all the time is if you say something's wrong, oh, that's real Christian of you. You don't love. Your kid's playing out in the street and they're going to get ran over. So you yell at them and you run out there and you spank their butt so they don't do it again. That's very loving. Rather than, oh, have fun. You're going to get killed. Right? It's just nonsense arguments of oh, well, we're going to bring your Christian love into this argument because you don't agree with us.
Well, the far left does that a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Not on any of that. So if there's any more of that, I don't want to interrupt. Okay, totally different topic. My sister has sent me on a mission to ask the question.
Okay.
What happened to Joseph, Jesus's earthly father?
The Bible doesn't say. We assume that he died before Jesus was even doing his public ministry because he's not mentioned any time. And when they say that, they talk about, well, hey, we know who his father is. This is the unbelievers. We're saying, isn't his father Joseph and his mother and his brothers, you know? But by the time you get to, well, even before then, Joseph isn't mentioned as actually being there. He's referenced that they knew him, but later it's like, well, your mother's here, your brothers are here. They never mention Joseph as like, in a way you would know he's alive. So it's
Never said that like he died.
doesn't tell us, as far as I know. And then when Jesus is on the cross, he commissions John to watch over his mom. He wouldn't need to do that if Joseph was around.
One of his disciples.
Yeah. John the beloved. The same one who wrote the Gospel of John, 1st, 2nd, 3rd John, Book of Revelation. Yeah.
But we assume that Joseph is the father of Jesus' half-brothers and sisters.
Yes. So somewhere in that, before, I believe before his public ministry started, he was gone. He already had passed.
Another random thought. How much older was Jesus than his siblings? Do we know? Just curious.
Don't know. I would kind of assumed that not a whole lot older, because, I mean, that was the thing. Get married and have kids, you know?
Both of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
So. Which would make sense, because the disciples were younger. In Jewish culture, they basically would be around 12 when they would be called to be a disciple. Peter was different. He was older. He's the one that had a mother-in-law that was sick, so we know that Peter was married. The temple tax is another one, when they want Jesus to pay the temple tax, and he tells Peter, go out and catch a fish and there'll be enough money there for you and I. He didn't do that for the rest of the disciples, so they were probably under 20, which was the age for that tax. So there's some of those things in there that people have kind of put together to say the disciples were younger. You know, Jesus started his ministry when he was 30. So if James was not too much younger, that would make him older than a lot of the other disciples. And it would make sense why they would want him to be the head of the church there. So.
Can you imagine 12-year-old, 13, 14-year-old now doing that?
No. Sadly, no. And it's just because of our culture. It has nothing to do with, I don't think, genetics. You know, you can't blame it on genetics or anything like that. It has to do with how we're raised. Well, you look at our grandparents, what was their education? How far did that go up to? 8th grade. How old were you in 8th grade?
12, 13.
12, 13. You were considered that you're good enough. Start your life. You know? So, yeah, this,
Crippling our society.
oh, it is. And it's by design, too. Just like the term adolescence, right? That's not, when Paul talks about, when I was a child, I did as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. There was no, well, this is this in-between time where you're not really a kid, but you're not really an adult. We don't expect much out of you. No, you go from a kid to an adult, you know, so. And there's basically like a rite of passage there. You put away those things. You're done with them. You're not a kid anymore, you know. So you don't think as a child, that kind of thing. Okay, anything else?
This was a question I had in my mind the other day, but how come women basically can stop having kids, I don't know, around 50, between 50 and 60, they can't have kids anymore, where men can always have kids? Why is that?
I don't know.
Okay, nothing in the Bible about that.
God weeded out the flawed models.
I mean, you see all these 70-year-old fathers married to 20, 30-year-old women, and the women are still having kids because the men can have them. But the women at 70 aren't going to have a baby.
Maybe God did that by
Depends
design
what
because
your
of
name
how
is.
dangerous it is to have a baby.
What's your name, Sarah?
Yeah.
The only thing that really comes to mind is when you look at husband and wife, when you look at marriage, what is it a picture of?
Christ.
Church, the church, and Jesus.
Christ and the church, right? And when it comes to Christ and the church, who has the problems? It's the church. You know, so typically, whenever I see stuff about husband and wife, you always want to kind of compare it to Christ and the church. You know, why is it that it's set up that the wife is supposed to be submissive to the husband. Because it's a picture of Christ in the church, you know. It has nothing to do with value. It has nothing to do. I get upset sometimes when I hear people say, well, it's because women are more emotional. I know plenty of women who are very level-head thinking and plenty of guys that aren't. That's not the reason. It's because it's a picture, and the Bible says it, it's a picture of Christ in the church. That's why women are to submit to their husbands, you know. So, yeah. Anytime you see stuff like, in Jewish culture, why did the woman have to go through a cleansing ceremony before getting married? The husband didn't. Because it's a picture of Christ in the church. We need cleansed to be with our bride or our groom, you know. So there's a lot of things that I think are like that.
Deer hunting. The low value is you can get does, but you have to get a certain thing to get a buck. It's like there's too many does, so they were trying to get rid of them. It's always been though. I've never heard about buck only.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, they do have them?
Oh yeah. Typically, it's kind of the opposite. You always can get a buck, and only certain times you can get a doe.
Okay, I thought they wanted to get rid of the does.
Well, it depends on who.
If you go deer hunting and you can shoot a doe, it means they're trying to decrease the deer population.
Yep.
And the way they do that is by letting you shoot does.
Yep.
That's part of the method that they control the deer population.
Yeah.
So is that different from state to state?
It's different from area to area in a state. So in Wisconsin, there is farmland, and if you're on farmland, then you can pretty much anything, and you can not too many limits on the numbers either. But then there's other places, and it's woodland, yeah, and it's none of it makes a whole lot of sense. But
The bucks are always open?
always, yeah. I have never heard of a doe only. It's always, huh?
Always open during season.
Right.
I just got my
Yeah.
rules mixed up in my head. I
Yeah,
thought it was reversed.
yeah. No. Okay, any,
Buy sometimes, well, I know you can buy extra doe tags.
right. You can never buy an extra buck.
No.
But I've never heard of that.
No.
You get one. Now, if you bow hunt, you can get another, you can shoot a buck, you can shoot a doe. Then you get your rifle, you can shoot a buck. And a lot of times you can shoot does, around here. There's a little strip that they call woodland that, like I said, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Oh no, you can't shoot a doe here, but on that side of the road you can.
Like the interstate divides,
Yep.
they don't cross the road.
Yeah.
What I've seen is what she asked about goes into animals. It seems like the pretty animals are always the female,
The males. Males.
so they'd be easier to see to shoot.
Well, it's to the way God designed it. I think it's to attract the females. That's the big thing with the.
I had that question asked to me the other night by my grandmother.
Yeah.
Why are the male birds always prettier than the females?
And they do silly dances too.
A, so they can attract females. B, because when the females are sitting on the nest, they don't want to be seen.
Right.
They're camouflaged so that they blend in with wherever they got the nest.
Yeah. Just by random chance, that'll happen, huh?
Yeah.
I never thought of that way, Bill.
Well, basically that's the way it is.
Yeah.
So there are very few birds where the male and the female are exactly the same.
Right.
Yeah.
The blue jays are one,
Read up on penguins.
and I don't care about them. They
Read on how their
Yeah.
how that,
That's crazy.
it's crazy. It's,
It is absolutely crazy.
man takes care of hatching the male.
Yeah, while the woman goes out shopping, or I mean, the female penguin goes out and chows down on all the fish, and she just decides by some random chance, oh, it's time to go back, and she gets there just in time when that egg is hatching. I don't know if you've ever paid attention to the March of the Emperor Penguins. Yeah.
Yep.
And the male has to stand there with the egg on his feet and keeping it at the right temperature and all that.
Have you seen how their coats are actually designed? Like you can see the amazingness in God.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
actual feathers between two layers of skin.
Yeah.
That's how penguins stay.
Yeah. And how does that male say, yeah, I've got to stay right here with this egg on my feet, and I've got to keep it warm, and I'm not moving for, how long is it? It's like a couple months, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a couple of months.
And she gets back there right in time. Oh, and she can find him.
But they all look the same.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Because they migrate a long ways away from where.
Yeah,
That's the-
yeah,
And that he doesn't starve to that.
yeah,
That's like salmon too, they always go straight to where they were born.
yeah.
If they can make it.
Yeah.
She was an
If the bear
evolution
doesn't
great.
get it first.
Yeah, isn't that just,
It's all happening.
yeah, ridiculous. Yep. Okay, anything else we want to talk about?
What?
Well, they gave us, so you haven't given us one, yeah?
I like to listen.
Who must know?
I got a question, but
Yeah.
I'll really ask it. It's somewhere in FBI, and I don't remember, but Yates got into the lineage of David and Christ and how it was corrupted, or
There's a blood curse.
Some of what?
There's a blood curse pronounced on Jehoiakim or Jehoiachin. He's got like 3 different names. Jeconiah, was it Jeconiah? I don't know. He's got like 3 different names that the Bible uses for him. He was an evil king, and he had this blood curse on him. And so his lineage is said it won't have a ruler on the throne. Okay, and if you go all the way back to the daughters of I gotta think of his name, starts with a Z. Zerah.
In there too, right?
Yeah, Rahab's in there, but this has to do specifically with this father who was it Zelophehad? He had these daughters. He didn't have any sons. This is back to the time of Moses.
Where would you read, where is that in the Bible back?
So I'll just assume it's in Exodus, but they go to Moses and say, "Hey, our father." No, I take that back. It's probably in Numbers, because they go to Moses and they say, "Our father was not part of the rebellion," and I think they were referencing Korah. And I think that's number 16. So it'd probably be after that. But he didn't get any sons. And we don't want our father's name to die out. And so what they want to do is they want to marry, but they want to continue with the father's name. And so this is what we call a Levirate marriage. He would be able to adopt a son that they were going to marry. They would, they're engaged, I'm going to adopt him as my own son, and they get married. And so when they have a kid, it'll be through that father's name. So the inheritance didn't pass away. And Moses goes to God, and God says, it's good. Now you get a picture of that back in Genesis 38 with Tamar and Judah. Remember, Judah's sons, and Tamar marries, and he dies. God kills him, and they don't have any kids. So now it's the brother, and he dies, and brother, and finally Judah's like, that lady's bad luck. Let's, you don't get to marry my other one. He's too young. But when he gets older, he doesn't give her over, and all of that takes place, right? So you have that demonstrated in Genesis 38. You have it. I guess you'd call it codified in law. It's probably in Numbers. Did you find it?
Numbers 27.
Numbers 27?
Yeah, daughters of Zelophehad.
Yeah.
I never knew there were so many Z names, and they're actually cool ones.
Yeah. Yep.
My favorite one's Zebedee.
Call him Zeb, you know, for short. Okay, so you have that concept, and so when you get to the two lineages of Jesus, you have Matthew and Luke, and so there's the blood curse. I have it written down here. It's Jeremiah 22:30. So that's where the blood curse is. Matthew 1:11 is where Jeconias. That is who he is. Now this is Joseph's lineage. Okay. When you get to Luke, we're going to see chapter 3. You're going to see a different lineage here. This is Mary's lineage, and Joseph is going to be adopted by Mary's father. Now, it doesn't state it that way, but when it says in verse 23, Jesus himself began to be about 30 years of age, being, as was supposed, the son of Joseph, which was the son of Hillel. That is Mary's side. So he's the adopted son. Okay? He's not the biological father of Jesus. He's the adopted son of Mary's dad. So it bypasses the blood curse.
So he's still being.
Oh, okay. I never understood that. I mean, first I understood it as Jesus was going to be born of the house of David, and it came through Joseph. Then I found out later about the blood curse. I said, no, it wasn't through Joseph. It was through Mary, because she was also from the house of David.
Mm-hmm.
But I never realized that there was an adoption there.
Yes.
Her father to her husband.
Yeah.
So
Technically, the brother's marrying his sister, legally.
In a legal sense, the adopted son is marrying, yes.
They did that from the beginning because that's all they had.
Well, it wouldn't be incest. Because
No, not at all.
it's not blood.
Not at all.
But legally,
So if you legally adopt someone, then they get to carry on your name and your inheritance. But it's not blood related, so you can marry the daughter.
who did Mary's father adopt?
Joseph.
Joseph, okay.
Yes.
Her husband.
Yep. Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that, I mean,
Yep.
One more time. So Mary's husband Joseph.
Yes, was adopted by Mary's father. He says, I'm adopting, so it shows that Mary didn't have any brothers. Okay.
I thought, it just took a second to kick in. I thought you were saying like before Mary, someone got adopted, so technically the blood wasn't from the house of David through Mary.
Oh, yeah, no. No.
when and why would that have happened? After they were married?
Well, probably during the engagement. You know, they haven't come together, but they're technically married.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
It's like taking on your son-in-law
yeah,
as your own son.
right. Yep. So you have Nathan. If you take chase Mary's lineage back, goes through Nathan. If you take David or Joseph's, it goes back through Solomon. Solomon's line had the blood curse. Nathan's line didn't.
That's specifically why they did it?
I think God worked it out there as just one of those miraculous things that puts us in awe.
You think Satan had a part in that blood curse, trying to disrupt the line? You know,
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me because he wants to always disrupt whatever God does. All right, anything else?
Where does it say about the adoption of Joseph in there?
That was Luke chapter 3 and verse 23. It says, the son, right, Heli, which was this, Joseph being the son of Heli. But it's talking about marriage lineage, so we would call that adopted son. Because people like, wait a second, there's two different genealogies of Joseph. No, there's one is his, has the blood curse. He can't. If Jesus was his biological son, he would be disqualified from sitting on the throne.
I'm always curious. I pretend I'm back in that day, and I'm the recorder of deeds. And Joseph's dad, Eli comes in and says, I want to adopt Joseph. I would think that was weird unless he explained, why do you want to do that? At that time,
Yeah.
how would he?
So in Jewish culture, you say, I don't have any other sons. And they would understand it because you have
Okay.
your inheritance, your name.
It wasn't because of
So,
Joseph, it was because he didn't have a son.
Right, you have the same thing in the book of Ruth.
Okay.
When Naomi comes back and Ruth comes with her, well, when Boaz marries Ruth, because Naomi didn't have any sons, that first child went to Naomi.
So it had nothing to do with marriage.
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking it would become something to do with marriage.
Yeah. No.
Okay. That makes sense.
Okay. Anything else?
so was one of them Levite? Wouldn't the son of Eli, which was Joseph, adopted his?
Yeah. I think it's just a name. Yeah. They were related to them later on. You find out that Elizabeth and Zechariah are related, and they're from the Levitical line. He's a priest, so at least he is.
Does that follow all the way? They're calling the line of Judah.
Right.
Does that mean that whole line is Judah?
Yeah, that whole line, so it matters on the male side. So if someone from Judah marries someone from the tribe of Levi, they're still the tribe of Judah.
Okay.
If the woman from Judah marries a man from Levi, it's the tribe of Levi then. So it's whatever the man is.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? Okay, well, I will pray then. Father, thank you for this time that we come together and get into your word. And also want to just lift up my Uncle Danny and ask that he would be doing well and be able to be healed and comfort for the family and loved ones. Thank you again for all that you've done for us. In Jesus' name, amen.